100% positively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's off. You would never, guys, you would never do that for realsies. Hey guys, this video was brought to you by Span. Hey, it's part 3 of the service upgrade at Tom's house. You may wonder why I'm hiding behind this bush, because the electric meter's back there. Tom and I have been rocking it out. We've got a team working with us too, and we're closing in. Currently the power is off to the house, and it's time to get things finalized so we can get it back on. Tom's got a generator running his refrigerator. Joke of the day is it's a compressor.
Right.
However, Tom, how's things going from your perspective?
Good. What are these wires? Are these goes into this or goes out this?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so the meter's back here behind the bush. We've got a 2-inch service conduit coming into our line side. And this panel is called the N1, N2. This is a Generac ATS. So that's L1, L2 in electrician talk. Breakers off, so we're safe to work on the rest of the panel when the utility rolls out to energize power. And there they are now, yes!
Oh, right on cue.
Woo!
Yeah, there they are.
Nice. So we're up in the attic above the garage panels, and we are final solutioning up here for cable management and protection. Because this is a walk-up attic and it's floored, that needs to be protected. So we're gonna use running boards, and that was our alternative to drilling all these rafters and providing a continuous structural weak point. In addition to that, we've got draft stopping and fire caulking of our penetrations, both through this plate as well as that plate. We're gonna finish shop vacuuming out the bays. We're closing in up here, but we definitely wanna have it complete before it gets too hot. So we went from the attic back down to the basement. We're gonna complete this sub panel so that when the service upgrade is complete, we're ready to energize power here and do some of our fit and finish on the receptacle shop power. However, this 2x6 has a severe twist to the left, so we're solutioning that presently, the imperfect science of the trades. We got about 6 feet of slack in the mechanical room. Tom identified that, so we're definitely pulling that out before we go through the ritual of panel termination.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. All right, does that look like enough? Speak now or forever hold your peace. We're gonna cut them 1, 2, 3, and the ground will be there.
Yeah, well, you know, you're the doctor.
All right.
You're the surgeon. I put the operating room together. You're the surgeon.
Okay, last thing I'd love to see is slip this block in there. And what that's gonna do for us is it's gonna provide a means to secure the wire and any future wires that come out of here, and then also keep us off the drywall and centered in this nice 2x6 bay, which is gonna protect from harm. Let's take a look at the work Bruce has done in the attic. He's gonna start routing cable around here to the generator disconnect, which is on the absolutely opposite corner of the house of the service equipment. So it's been a bit of a long haul, but we're still kind of making tracks until the utility company arrives, and then we get busy. Off our reference point this way, we'll penetrate and core right there, about as high as we can get it, and then we'll LB up into the cabinet and leave it for today.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Nearest power plug for an extension cord. We're down in the basement, checking our reference point. You wanna?
There it is right there, yeah.
You like that? All right, 77 is 2 inches off the side of this framing, which is right where our pipe was. Look at that. We're in the clear. All right, let's core that. We don't do many extension cords at Jefferson Electric because we are a Milwaukee M18 team, because besides a couple jokers like me who are still using DeWalt, and we are committed to cordless tools. AES is here, Bruce. The power's going offline. Make sure you have a light if you need it.
Okay. So the first thing he's going to do, we've identified that your service is in this pedestal. So he'll take this cover off here. He'll take this cover off here. Once he takes this cover off, he'll find which tag is 9314. He'll pull that leg out. He'll pull both hot legs out first. So the one that's a hot leg he's about to pull out, and then he'll take another cover off, pull your second hot leg out, and we'll pull your neutral out. You guys will then be disconnected, and we'll be ready to proceed your work.
All right, AES was phenomenal. Those guys were real cheery. Young guys tend to be a little bit more jubilant. So we've got a whole cord through the outside. We've got one more hole punched through the bottom. I actually, in my thought processing, keeping guys moving, I forgot the make a way for the generator output to feed the ATS. So that's what this additional hole is for here. We're going to use a box connector. Well, it'll be real clean right there. Look at that. Boom. I've got power is de-energized. I'm hiding back here behind the bush. Can you see me? Power is de-energized. So it's time to get this in. And because we wanted to be prefabbed, I've already got the cabinets set. So how do you get a fixed pipe between two cabinets? Well, the deal is you've got 1.5 inch shoulder on each pipe, but you only have 3/4 of an inch of threads. And so I've cut the pipe to the right length that when fully seated, and still a little bit of a cram jam, when fully seated, I should be able to slide this pipe in there and then expand just a little bit, 3/8 on each side, and I'll go ahead and mark that so I know exactly how much pipe is pulled out of which side, and I'll slide it into place, and that's going to have to be quick because it will be glued. So you see I've got a fully seated mark on that pipe, so I'll know how much I expand. So it'll need to be quick, and that's looking healthy. I'm going to turn this is schedule 80 because it's subject to physical damage. It's 2 inch because it's going to have three 3/0 conductors through it, and I'm just turn that away from the wall. I do not need an expansion fitting, an actual expansion fitting here, because I'm well underneath that length of run, and I'm shaded on the north side of the home here, so I'm not going to get intense temperature extremes. I'll still get -15 in Indiana all the way up to 100, but I won't get baking sun where it's 140, 150 potential, like a rooftop condition or something. We did take a voltmeter to this meter can, and we are de-energized. Absolutely. If you get shocked, it's your own fault. In this case, it could be not just shock, but electrocution. Funny enough, people often invert those words, electrocution. I got electrocuted in high school, and they didn't. You got shocked. You wouldn't be here today if you'd been electrocuted. I can't tell you how common a misconception that is, but correct me if I'm wrong. If you've got a better way of doing any of this, drop it in the comments. We're growth hungry. In no way perfect. I made a mistake once before. Yesterday. All right, so now it's seated into the fittings, and I'm just gonna use the flex that's native to that cabinet. Then I'm gonna look for my mark and expand it a little bit on both sides. Voila. There you right there. But we'll glue that before we consider it final. We'll get the lock nuts into place here. Look how beefy that lock nut is. Whew. That come from like an explosion-proof cabinet, or is it just old school? Okay, so here's a little tidbit right here. See, what we do as part of our production process when we estimate every single job, whether we win it or not, when our mind is fresh on the work, we're taking a small risk in time, but when our mind is fresh on the work, we put together a material list that is paired with the estimate. The warehouse team then prints off that material list when the job is accepted, and schedulers have it on the calendar. They're given a deadline for having all those materials picked and ready under the customer last name, categorized, alphabetized in the warehouse, and then they highlight things, mark them off. The highlights are actually because some of these are team tools, so they're not going to set them with the materials at the time they pick it, because that could be 2-3 weeks in advance of the job being scheduled at times if they're running strong and ahead of schedule. And so those team tools then get grabbed by the electrician out of the tool crib when they mobilize for the job. So this is a little sleeve that I'm going to use to go through the wall here to protect our feeder all the way through the wall. So that's going to finish out just like that. And then we'll just come up, punch through wherever we so choose, TBD. But power is de-energized, so we're in hustle mode. Lunch is short, work is fast. And finish up on the outside here and then move to the inside. The old-fashioned way to check to see if it's really off, actually go to the line side and just tap them. I can't actually. Can't get it in there. There. 100% positively beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's off. You would never, guys, you would never do that. For realsies. All right, just let that cure. And then Put our bushings on before we forget. Sometimes those bushings will fight the conductors a little bit, but better to have them on now than later. Let's get this glued into place. With a 20 kilowatt generator, Tom's going to be able to run his entire house with automatic transfer. If the utility power goes out, the generator will kick on within a few seconds, maybe minutes at the longest, and the whole house will come back up. This is a total home backup. Generator is still future, but he's provisioning now while he's doing the service, which is fantastic. There's really nothing he's not going to be able to run with 2 people occupying this home. Now, if there's the apocalypse, they may pull from all corners of the neighborhood, and this could be the Fiesta house. But yeah, 120 kilowatt generator, 200 amp ATS. He's sitting pretty. And he's not going to have, I mean, all said and done, he's not going to have 20 grand in the project. So it's pretty cost effective. This video is brought to you by Span. Span is the sexiest way to take control of your energy. Check the link below. In the event of a smaller generator install, an additional panel is often installed with the critical appliances in one panel and the non-critical loads in a secondary panel. This allows the generator to reliably and predictably power some things, but not all things. The problem with this approach is that it's rigid. If you want light in a certain room, but it's not wired into the critical loads panel, you're out of luck, besides rerouting the whole circuit into the other panel. Span's smart electrical panel can fill this void by allowing circuit selection through software. This way, the user can minimize their loads and have exactly what they need in an outage situation, all through automation or manual control with real-time, real-world insights. This avoids costly upgrades to the service, whether gas or electric, internal gas lines, and allows for more flexible design. It's about 12.5 foot-pounds, 150 inch-pounds. So we're gonna tighten it down, and then we're gonna loosen it up. And I need to actually slide that further in there. It's pulling out. There it is. All right. Just be patient and meticulous. Best of our ability. That's it. We've got the neutral marked there, nice and clearly. Not with duct tape like the last contractor did. This is the main service disconnect, so we're gonna leave this bonding jumper in that bonds the cabinet, the grounding terminal bar, and the neutral terminal bar. That's all common. That means electrically similar or joined, if you will. Let's just put it right there. Let's think through this. This is gonna come up. Each successive wrap will be tighter, so I think we're right there. We'll torque all this stuff down at the same time so we don't have to go back and forth, back and forth. I'm sure it's gonna be closer to 275 inch-pounds, so we'll take that a little past. All right, service neutral is in. As soon as I get the 2 ungrounded conductors from the meter base to the Generac ATS, then I'm gonna call AES back, there's a tongue twister, and we're gonna call for reconnect of power because we'll be able to turn it off at the main and put the lug covers on. So, close to making that telephone call. Hey, real quick, if you'd like to work at Jefferson Electric, check the description, we're hiring. All right, with 3 large conductors like this, the chance for jamming is substantial. And so one thing to be mindful of is just how they're entering and exiting the conduit. See how they're laying side by side? They're doing that on that end too. So that gives a nice opportunity for that third conductor to come in. But jamming occurs particularly when you have 3 conductors. That's a little physics problem you can solve in your head. But you just gotta watch out for that. So laying your conductors into the conduit thoughtfully bears benefit. And we're going from L2 in the meter cabinet to L2, well, they call it N2 in this cabinet. So I'm gonna cut it there. Well, cleanup job out here when we're done. Nobody wants to walk out and find bits of wire scraps and stuff on the ground. Utility company gets away with that, but also we're not paying them directly in a contracted manner, and you don't have a choice. Contractors are held to a much different standard than a utility worker, right? Of course. All right, just leave that for now. Well, do the loosen. What happens when you do that loosen tighten method is that you're seating the strands of the conductor, and those multi-strand conductors, they have a way of working themselves loose and of not really torquing down sufficiently, so you've just got to go through some extra precautions anytime you're using a stranded conductor to ensure that you've got a good seat. And this is a 200 amp connection, but there's one common misconception, and that's that a 200 amp breaker will trip at 200 amps. What do I mean by that? I mean that the thermal, if you disagree, let me know. The thermal aspect of that breaker, it could sit at 205 amps, 210 amps for a while, half hour, before it did finally trip. And so that terminal right there could see every bit of 200 amps plus a little bit. And so you just want to go through pains to ensure that it's going to be capable for what it's subjected to. There it is. The utility company could have required us to cut down this bush because it's encroaching on the utility laws. And you might ask yourself, what gives them the power to do that? Well, they don't really. I don't think they would actually cut it down. They would just pull your meter and take it with them. And then you would cut down your bush. That's how that works. So they have an approved set of rules by the state regulatory company, utility regulatory company, and there it is. Play by the rules if you want power. I said we're done in the can, but actually we need to get the evergreen out of our tool pouch. This bush is shedding on me. And we need to get that pass-through capped off. It's kind of buried back there. There it is. That's all we needed. All right, let's get that pulled out of there as soon as we're ready, and we'll put a KO closer in that, and then we'll stuff this all back and good to go. Got my calculator out, my torque wrenches in foot-pounds, my ratings are in inch-pounds. So on the breaker itself, it says 350 MCM to 6 gauge is 177 inch-pounds, and actually 13.3 foot-pounds, so that's handy. This terminal bar is 275 inch-pounds. So we are ready to snug it down. Easy. Could have a miscalibrated piece of equipment, so you definitely can't turn off your common sense. This is pretty stout already. There it is. Okay, and it's 13.3. Come on, foot-pounds. 0.3. That's pretty precise. I think I'm already there. Boom. Slightly over-torqued. Let's loosen it. I think that's the lesser of evils before it undergoes long-term strain at that torque. Right. Oh, there it is. Loosen it, and there it is. All right. We're going to cover our utility connections, make sure our breaker's in the off position, and then we'll call the utility for reconnection. Okay, every good electrician who's got a management capacity and not just a technician in the field, right? I call for connections, disconnections, all that stuff. You've got to know how to work with the local infrastructure. This is the business line, right? So the masses are calling the consumer line, and their wait time right now is probably 10 to 30 minutes. Business line, 1 minute. And tend to have a little bit more tenured representative on the business line, tend to. So you've got you've got to work the infrastructure appropriately, and you've got to utilize that management skill set. So there's technician mindset, management mindset, leadership mindset, and you've got to be able to put the hats on and off. And that crossover team member who can do all three of those well, that's a $100,000 plus a year employee. And what I mean is that's their take home. What they're generating for the company is probably $250,000 a year, right? All right, now on these copper conductors that we salvaged out, no locks is required. Wouldn't hurt it, but as far as I'm aware, I don't know if I've ever no locked an aluminum or a copper connection. We're gonna identify the neutral. We're gonna have a ground here as well. Yeah, I've got some ground material. Run that through. Get these to seat and fit as we go. Wait until the end. It's difficult. One at a time. I'm gonna mark this white conductor neutral again here.
Thank you for calling AES Indiana District Commission. I see you're calling to go over your account. How may I assist you today?
Hey, I really appreciate it. We called for a disconnected power this morning, and we are calling now for a reconnect.
All right, so I went ahead and placed the trouble ticket for service ready to go back. Our guys will be out there within an hour to 3 hour window based on the work on the weather. Do you have any other questions for me today, Joe?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling AES Indiana. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
I will. Appreciate it. Bye. So far, so good. All right, Tom is about to wrap it up in the panel. That thing is going to be fully disassembled, and we'll be able to start with removing the conduit, former service conduit to the exterior, capping that inside the meter base, removing this panel. We're going to spray foam that just like we did this little bloop up here, and we're going to take a Sawzall blade and cut that flush so it's a good finish. And we'll get the new panel seated. We'll get the branch circuits transferred over here that are coming here. We'll get the ones terminated there that are terminated there. It's almost time for lunch. We're just going to keep working our little tails off. That's all we can do. Good. I'm going to bounce back outside and terminate these conductors here. Man, I highly suggest that anytime you're working with a cut risk, you don't have to wear gloves all the times, but anytime you're working with a cut risk, that doesn't just mean using a knife, that you wear cut resistant gloves. Love my Maxi Flex. I'd like to try some different Milwaukees and DeWalt's at some point. And anytime you're working with the risk of fibers or flyings, little things in the air, right? You wear your safety glasses, and these have side shield protection. They have pretty tight fit to the brow, and then I've got my hat to shed the rest. So I really suggest that you do not overlook those two little precautions. They'll pay dividends. A couple things along the cut risk. You know, the end of these copper conductors, that's a cut risk. Sharp metal edges, maybe here, maybe on the bolt, that's a cut risk. It's surprising how, if you're doing electrical work, you pretty much almost 100% have a cut risk, unless you're just doing some basic testing. These are not insulated gloves, so I'm not electrically insulated with these. Granted, they would probably help a little bit, but they're not rated for that. So I'm being mindful as I go that L1 is on the left, L2 is on the right, and that's reflected in how we land the conductors on the inside. All right, I'm back to 275 inch-pounds, which is 23, which is there, a little bit more. All right, reverse it. 23 foot-pounds, 275 inch-pounds, blah, 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 blah. There it is. I'm getting carried away here. I'm landing the feeder conductors on the generator outputs, and so I need to relocate that. Getting carried away. I've got the right order going, but I just need to get down here a little bit lower. And there's a label right there that says it beautifully. T1, T2, lower connections, customer load. All right, inside is good. I wanted to make sure I didn't push that feeder conductor outside the envelope of the electrical panel, and I did not, so that's good. We'll go ahead and get this thing fully down. So you've got the option of choosing Cummins as well, and Kohler. Those are two other Generac alternatives. Generac definitely has a ton of market share. I don't know that it's because they're a superior product. I don't have any complaints with them, but they got market share. I think for Cummins, you know, they've got a lot of other stuff going on. So I wonder if they just didn't push this little division quite as much. Whereas Generac, this is the biz. They're now into renewable energy as well. They've got solar inverters, energy storage systems. They bought some technology, rebranded it, and I think they're doing a pretty nice job. There are some installers out there who don't operate with integrity, who are substantially Generac, and that's not a reflection on Generac, that's on the installers. But unfortunately, it does commingle their product into some dicey situations. We get called in periodically to do repairs and maintenance, where this contractor is backed out and walked away, and it's not honoring warranties, is giving customers the runaround. They're notorious for that. Okay.
I think that took longer than I was supposed to.
No, this is the moment we've been looking for right here. This is beautiful. Good job, good job. I'm on your right. It's hard to walk down the ladder with a 30-pound panel shaking you around. The 2-inch male adapter is embedded in the wall between the meter cabinet and the brick. It is not going to come out, so we're going to cut it 2 or 3 times and bring it out in pieces to avoid further destruction. Just have to watch out for the service conductors. Do you trust me? All right, so we are putting in a 2-inch KO closer. Close up that hole. We've cut the male adapter out, and need a little bit more strength than what my tips of my fingers are going to give me here. We've replaced our load side service conductors. We're reinstalling our meter and cover. I'm going to try to catch the utility lineman while he's out here to put a seal on the meter base. Right there. So that's done. I like it. And we're going to spray from the back side of that. So we've got R value to prevent air leakage coming out of the home. We're landed all the way to the supply side of this 200 amp breaker in the ATS. And it's off there, it's covered and protected. So these conductors are going to come live, but they're insulated and we're going to work around them. So making progress. We're ready for the utility at this point. We've done checked box number 1. Thank you for joining us for part 3 of this 4-part video. We're about to get a 4-hour shoulder workout, putting our panels in and making all of our terminations. Tom, you are an impeccable host, sir. Every situation we've encountered, Tom has had a solution ready at hand, and you are a master of some trades and a jack of many, and that is difficult to do.
And right now, it's going to be a master of delegation, because I will get stuff ready for you, but I'll let you show what you've done thousands of times of making this look like a thing of beauty.
At the age of 67, you've earned the privilege. I appreciate it. Subscribe to Electric Pro Academy for real skills to make real money, and click here for part 4.